Hello and welcome to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And this is the second part of the day when Joe and I had a surprise geeking in this episode. We are coming from, we're getting out of Taco Bell because we had been to a couple comic shops and needed something to eat. We go from Taco Bell to, we went to the College of Comic Book Knowledge. Then from the College of Comic Book Knowledge, we went to the record store called Electric Fetus here in the Twin Cities. One of the last pure record stores left, and it's been around since the 70s, which is why it has a name like the Electric Fetus. And we then go through rush hour traffic over to the Source in St. Paul. Now, why are we having this episode when we should be having the previous episode? Well, we recorded the previous episode. At least we thought we did. We recorded the first 15-20 minutes, and then Joe's computer just kind of winked out. We fired up Skype again. I hit record, and when we got to the end, I tried to find where to turn off the recording. Nothing there. Discovered that our 2-hour-plus conversation about previews vanished into the ether. I don't know if it was Joe's computer or Skype being weird or what, but once I found out that we had the previous episode, which ended up being a little over 2 hours long, just no audio in existence at all, I began to swear as if someone had dropped a 2x4 and an anvil on my foot while I was standing on Legos. It was not pretty, and it lasted for about 15 minutes. Thankfully, that's why we have these fill-in episodes. I'm not going to say it was a dreaded deadline doom, because with Joe's job and my job, we're only able to record on Thursday nights currently. We got done with our recording a little after 10, and I was not going to go over the exact same thing that we'd spent 2 hours talking about until midnight. And then try to work the next day. So we are recording previews this week. It will be available next Monday. I know that's a little late, but you could still go to your comic shop and ask them, and they're able to still order because final order cutoff is a ways off. But instead, here is Joe and I in his cop car, driving around the streets of the Twin Cities as snow begins to fall.
Because I have a set list that I listen to over and over.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
And the thought that they didn't even make $3 on all those downloads and streaming that I did is kind of disheartening.
Especially because of all the goddamn ads.
I know, I'm so close to getting the YouTube channel just because I use it at work all the time. You know, when I'm looking in the suitcase to see if it's going to explode or not, I like to have just music on in the background to keep me awake. Some people read books and some people I don't because I get too involved in it. I'm like, 2 bags went by. I probably should. Well, no big deal. They'll come in the room anyways.
Yeah.
Which, annoys people because you're like, you could have cleared that. Yeah, but I didn't. Anyways. Yeah, that was kind of an eye-opening thing. I thought it was interesting that she was talking about that. And nobody, meantime, everybody else was like, oh, he's misinformation.
The thing is, the blow-up didn't happen over the misinformation.
No, it's when he said the black word.
Well, it's when he had Jordan Peterson, who's a well-known neo-Nazi, on, and they talked about how, black people in the U.S. aren't really black. And it's, dude, Yeah, they had it worse than Africans, okay?
Yeah, that's just what we need to white people talking about black people's issues. I do have a friend at work who, he told me he's black. He said, I think you get it. Because I said, just by some of your posts, I'm like, yeah. I said, there's nothing.
By the way, that Mexican place right there is fantastic.
Oh, really?
And right next door is a Mexican grocery store.
I saw that. I love that. Love the storefront.
Well, it's been there forever.
Yeah, there's one like that in South St. Paul that got refunctioned into like a realtor. No, anyways, I told him, yeah, there's nothing like a bunch of white people sitting around talking about black people's problems, is there? And what's Zap on that one? Folks, I can't say I'm black. There's a whole lot of times I wish I could say I'm not white.
I was listening to a podcast about, just stuff, and one of the guys was talking about how, white people don't quite grasp institutional racism. And he gave an example of when he was in a position to hire people. The HR people would send him resumes. These are people who cleared through the system. And he was like, yeah, they all have, super white names. And he wanted a more diverse staff because the more diversity you have on your staff, the more ideas you're going to get, especially if you're dealing with the public. Mm-hmm. So he asked if he could see, and he was seeing a lot of, ethnic names that just weren't getting passed on. When I was in a position to hire people at the group home, my issue was very different in that we were way out in one of the west suburbs. Now, Minnesota doesn't have a lot of African Americans, but when you get to Chaska and Shakopee and Victoria and Waconia, you don't have any. So I would advertise in the Minneapolis neighborhood papers, and I talked with the people at the U of M, criminology professors, etc., because I wanted African American people, so that it wasn't these inner city kids are coming out to the suburbs and being told what to do by a bunch of white guys. And you have to actually get that mindset of, I'm not going to hire people who are like me. I want to hire people who are different from me so I can get different perspectives and different ideas and learn more.
Sidebar, I'm not stopping at Hot Comics, so.
No, okay.
I was just going to go by.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for a Peacemaker toy, but I'm like, you know what? There's a toy show coming up. It's not something I'll die if I don't get.
And they've had the same stuff on discount for 5 years now.
There are, when I get my comics in order, online where I can look them up, I want to go to issues needed first, and then I'll hit Hot Comics and genuinely look at back issues as opposed to just kind of, I don't know if I got this or not.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just need to notice, like there was a thrilling radio adventure hour, I think was the name of it, and they had come to town and I actually saw them live, which was cool. I kept thinking it'd be a great crossover with like Doctor Strange, because it's basically a man and a woman. I don't think they're married. They might be. I don't recall the background. They drink a lot. They have a lot of martinis. They're upper society, and they solve the type of mysteries that Scooby-Doo would solve.
So it's a lot like The Thin Man.
Yeah. And I kept thinking they play it as if they're real, not that they're guys in a mask. But they just, somehow they stumble through it and they're able to defeat it. And I kept thinking this would be such a great crossover with like Doctor Strange. And when I bought the Image comic, I actually got the one with the photo cover of those two. I wish I had it before they came to town, because I would have brought it down and tried to get him to autograph it. But I always thought I missed issue 4. And turns out I didn't. It only went 3 issues at Image.
Oh.
I did miss one from someone else, and I think I bought it. So last time I was at the college, I found the issues and they're cheap, and I thought, well, I better buy them. And I bought them and like, oh shit, these aren't it. Not that it mattered, there were none on eBay, so I just went on eBay again.
To the eBays!
And then I discover
We are now in Minneapolis, ladies and gentlemen. Minneapolis.
While I've got their graphic novel, there are also some other ones where they like...
There's our favorite burger place, Patty Wagon.
Where they went through Boom Studio and published a few. So I just got to sit down and get everything organized. I think I have my Baxter Legion of Superheroes. I got the, was it Denny O'Neil did the question?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got that run. I just got to get them all laid out. I got the Buzak's Avenger run where George Perez started, just so I can read them. And a lot of these things will probably never be in omnibus or paperback, or if they are, they're out of print.
Well, I know the question's going to be an omnibus.
Yeah, and I decided not to, just because it was one of the months that was real expensive.
Yeah. And Marvel's going back to press on a lot of their omnibuses. I can't see them not going back to press on the Busick Perez omnibus.
And those are ones that I thought of, and I'm like, you know what? I have them in comic form. I don't. If I'm going to spend money on an omnibus, it's going to be on something. TC, I'm looking at you. Adam Stranger omnibus. I'm not bitter. On something I don't have. You know.
You're not bitter. No, not at all.
Bitter. Nope.
Not at all. No.
You know, even the plan to replace things with epics.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sidebarred because I think I'm just going to go and get what you have for digital and just do it that way. My Marvel Digital did stop because when DCF bought Huntington, every subscription got canceled.
Oh.
And so I asked, are you getting charged $10 a month? So I don't have to dig up a way old Google account Gmail account to try to get it on the cancel. So I'm just going to sign on, wait till like Christmas or whenever they have a good deal.
Yeah, wait till they have a sale, because they do sales a lot.
Yeah. And then okay, I want to, because there's so many things, and I'm getting that way now with newer comics. I want to read Savage Avengers. I don't want to own it.
Yeah.
If I want to own it, like Kurt Buzak's Avengers, which I would read over and over and over, I will buy it in a permanent form. And then a lot of things like Ultraverse, well, they're never going back to the bank with that, although you never say never. I don't know. Disney's got a lot of things, cross-gen, that they don't seem to be doing a lot with.
Well, if I remember right, they bought cross-gen for one property.
Yeah.
The Azkaban. And put out some kids' books and, made the money on it. Marvel tried a couple miniseries and nobody cared.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, to me, somebody's got to be going somewhere in the Disney vault saying, okay, we got to monetize this stuff, but there's only so much in a day. Like, I don't know why they don't park a boatload of money up to, well, I think I do know, up to David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson. Say, okay, we're going to do another X-Files round.
They're not. Gillian Anderson says she is done. After the last 2 seasons, She was unhappy. She didn't think they worked.
Well, she was wrong.
And she thinks it kind of tarnished the image.
Nope.
Having seen them, they were okay. But
yeah, they weren't. Yeah, the problem is, and I think we've talked about it, Chris Carter just needs to end it.
He didn't have a plan.
No. And the plan would have, what did they say? It was 2012 was supposed to be the that was your goal right there. You should have made the movie there. The invasion happened. It's coming. But again, these are properties. I think they should have kept it going with, you could have had a new group of guys coming in on the X-Files. Like when they brought in Patrick and that.
We'll be right back. So, we went to college.
Yay! So you can teach us. Well, not really.
College of Comic Book Knowledge. Now, normally we go here on, Free Comic Book Day or Black Friday. But we were just here a couple of months ago. their discount section has not turned over much, but the problem for me is their sets. They have where they take a run of comics or complete series of a mini series or whatever and bind them together for a cheap price. Basically, it's, yeah, we got all this stuff in the warehouse, let's get rid of it. Back in the aughts, I don't remember when, Dynamite did a deal with the Kirby estate for a bunch of his characters, like Captain Victory and Silver Star, and they had Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross and other people, and it kind of sputtered, but they had all of the books in sets except for 2 issues of Captain Victory.
Oh.
So I grabbed it all. And I remember at the time I read the Kirby Genesis and was like, huh? But I figured, get it all. And if it's terrible, hey, I'm buying it in sets for like $5 a set.
Ooh, fire truck.
So now I need to go to eBay to get the last 2 issues. Because nobody's going to have them.
And while Cory's digging through that, I dig through their $3 bins because that's where I find those books. Like I was talking about from Steve Brown, the thick books that have Marvel Tales reprinting stuff, just good reading. Although I did buy one, Ward's WOW #1 for $30.
And the WOW stands for World of Wood.
Yeah.
Because it was when Bill Ward was working with Wally Wood. Yeah, Joe saw that one and could not resist.
No, because I have a love affair with Ward's books, and I looked on the eBays and I bid on one, and I thought, you know what I just bid for, I could just buy it here for $30 and support my local shop. So I will go cancel that bid when I get home, or if I win it, I want it cheap. Yeah,
and the other cool thing I got,
yeah, guess what?
They had some showcases.
In front of you.
And I saw they had Batman Showcase #6, which was the last of the showcases. Showcases were the like the Marvel Essentials. They were big 500, 600-page books, black and white, cheap paper. And this is all the Batman stories from 1970 and 71, which is when Neil Adams came on, and they got much more serious with Batman, and it had sort of a horror tinge to it. I probably have that at home, but they're selling it for cover price. And those go for scary amounts of money. So if I do have it at home, I will probably eBay it. I'm learning from Joe.
Yeah, I'm a bad influence.
Because the last time I saw one at Half Price Book and Magazine, they were selling it for $150.
Yeah.
But the college is just an old school shop. They have been around forever.
Oh yeah, good mix of Silver Age, not so much Golden Age, but they'll get runs of stuff in. All the graphic novels you could possibly want. More importantly, we were able to pick up the Marvel and DC supplements. So
previews.
When we do our previews, we won't have to bitterly be complaining about, hey, how come we didn't get them? So.
And I know they'll be in my next box, but my next box probably isn't dropping for at least, 2 weeks.
So this way we can...
Especially with everything going on in Canada.
Yeah. With Canada...
Blame Canada.
And of course,
blame Canada.
Ice storm rolled over the warehouse that Diamond and Discount Comic Book Service is in. So, not a good day. God hates comics.
I thought it was God Hates Astronauts.
Yeah, I know he hates
I haven't read that comic
I know
yet.
he hates my clip-ons. Every time I turn around, I'm losing them or breaking them or leaving them in the wash.
It's funny how the college has lasted for so long. And, the people who are in there, they've been there a while. But it's like nobody there was there when it started.
Yeah, Cory and I were feeling ancient because one guy's like, yeah, I'm 28. And I'm like,
I'm getting old. I'm going to be 30 soon.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm 57. I must be dead.
Well, and he's talking like he's a comic expert.
And he might know his shit.
Yeah, but, and then he goes, these comics from way back in the 90s. I wanted to say, dude, I have comic boxes I haven't opened up that I purchased in the 90s when shops would go out of business and $20 a box. Okay. I was reading on one of the groups for people who, work in comic shops and stuff, and they were like, yeah, back issues. What are people paying for back issues? I said, well, unless it's a key book, we're paying $10 a long box. And if people don't like it, show them the door.
Yeah.
We don't care.
Nope. And I had a buddy of mine, he sold like 30 long boxes for, I think it was 30, might have been 20, for $3,000. And it was a good deal. I mean, it was basically filler stock from when he had a comic store. And he had a reader copy of Hulk 181 that caught my attention. And I told him, I said, if nobody buys, give me a call, because I'll give you $3,000 for it. And he called me back about an hour later. It sold. A sad story is he got screwed because when he sold his comic book store inventory, the guy, gave him like 10% down, disappeared with the inventory, never saw him again.
Oh.
It's like, geez, this guy's been like beat up a lot. He's one of the Pats that Gruber and I started buying comics with.
You used to hear stories like that all the time, because comics was kind of a skeevy sort of business.
So I basically flashed my cop light at this guy because he was driving down a two-way, and now he's driving real cautiously because he doesn't know if I'm a real cop or not, because I fell back behind him.
And it's a delivery truck.
Yeah, I love doing that. Is this 3rd Avenue South?
Yes.
It says turn right.
He's probably breathing a sigh of relief right now.
And looking at the Deadpool stickers on the back of the car.
No, they're covered up by dirt. I really can't tell they're there.
I can understand.
The girlies you can.
Yeah.
The Deadpool you can. Oh, I know where we are.
Oh, good. I'm just following. What's her name?
This is the area where I wandered around looking for an apartment for someone.
Oh.
I found like 4 apartments, and none of them were good enough.
This is a nice area, though.
I know. It was like, it's right next to the Minneapolis Institute of Arts. So you're near Uptown, and the rents are good because it's, college student type stuff. When the weather gets nice, I like to come down here and hang out in that park.
I'll have to remember this place. All right, now comes the fun part. Trying to find parking.
Where are we going?
We're sneaking the back way up to the Electric Fetus.
Ah.
Which is a record store I've been dying to get to. I think it's one of the only pure record stores left, other than used record stores.
There's Roadrunner Records, I believe.
Yeah, there's a few. There's that one place that we found, remember DVDs when we were out geeking around that
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't know.
Butch knows that place.
Yeah, I don't know if I could ever find it again, so. Okay, by judging this, I think we can park on both sides of the street. Because I get lost trying to find this place. But now that I know where I am.
Engine rebuilding.
Yes.
That's what we're here for.
And it's starting to snow.
Oh, it's just flurries.
Oh my god, snow.
Oh my god.
Well, the nice thing is, like I said, we didn't take a long road trip because I didn't want to get stuck in the snow.
You park there?
That's even a better idea.
Customer parking only. We're going to be customers.
Yay! I'll park here.
No, I'll park here.
No.
No, here.
Oh,
Yeah, right here.
Son of a building.
And stop.
Okay.
So we're going to an actual record store.
I know. I can't wait to see what we come out with.
Well, we are out of the Electric Fetus, which is an old school record store. Tons of vinyl. Tons and tons of vinyl. CD section was pretty big. Used DVDs, used Blu-rays. I picked up one thing and one thing only. They had Ken Burns' The War, which is his PBS documentary about World War II. A used copy for $14.99, and it's like, yeah, if they ever take this off Netflix, I won't be able to see it. So, but I don't even listen to CDs in my car anymore because I have Sirius satellite radio, and I listen to podcasts and.
Whereas I do have a CD in my car. I don't have Sirius radio. It's only a 20-minute drive. I barely listen to commercial radio. I did buy 2 CDs. I looked through a lot of used ones. I picked up Jethro Tull's The Zealot Gene.
Brand new.
And kudos to the staff, Electric Fetus, because they had the big box set with all the albums and all the goodies. And I'm like, I just want the CD. And she found it. It was hiding under... It was there. It was just kind of under a ledge, hard to find. And then the Shat has an album out. William Shatner. I bought Mojo magazine because it's got an article about the monkeys. Anarchy, Subversion, Genius, and then an article by Mickey Dolenz talking about Michael Smith. A couple of things for my daughter. And as I'm getting lightheaded, I bought a candy bar and I'm wolfing it down even as we speak.
I even bought candy. They had, what is it? It's classic candy, so.
Oh, yeah.
It's butterscotch and root beer. Whoever was in competition with Lifesavers. Hold on.
Oh. I see the album on my head, or I see the candy label on my head.
Reed's.
Yes.
Reed's butterscotch and Reed's root beer. And if they are anything like I remember as a kid, they're actually more powerful than.
I was going to offer you some ice cold mountain water. Your soda needs soda.
Yeah, I still have my soda.
Soda. Yeah, there'll be
a lot of people, like 2 of the places we hit, carrying classic candies. Electric Fetus had classic candy, and Blue Sun Soda Shop had classic candy.
Nick was big on that at the source, but when he left, they kind of...
Yeah, they've gone to normal, like the kind of stuff you get at a gas station now.
All right, it is.
He had a hookup with Stuckey's because he had their pecan rolls.
So we are at the still in Minneapolis. It's sort of snowing, kind of wanting to. Of course, rush hour traffic is gridlocked, which is why
it is 4 o'clock, by the way, which is rush hour usually starts around 3:30, if I remember right. I haven't had to drive in rush hour for over 2 years now,
and I don't either. Which I'm happy we're here because that was kind of the plan. I wanted to be in town when the snow hits, and then as opposed to okay, now we got 70 miles to drive to get home.
If I was a big music head, Electric Fetus would be where I would hang out.
I enjoyed going through everything. There's also cheapos over in St. Paul. They're good for used and new stuff.
Now,
and they pretty much got the market because, none of the mass markets carry CDs anymore. They do like to be hip and carry a little vinyl, but, dude, there's nothing compared to these guys.
Well, and cheapos used to have more than one because I used to go to the one in Uptown.
Yeah.
And that would be something you do on a Saturday night. You go there and you hear the clack, 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 clack of people going through the used CDs.
Oh, yeah.
And they also had a used bookstore in the basement, but I think they're all gone now.
Yeah, I remember going there because it was kind of moldy. They, Electric Fetus used to have shops all over. They closed the one in Duluth. They closed the one in St. Paul years ago. They used to be the quintessential head shop, where even when they got closed in Duluth, they were given pressure because they would sell vaping stuff, and when the Wacky Tobacco was in all sorts of colorful flavoring colors, they got in trouble for that. I think there's isn't there Glam Donuts down this way?
I don't know.
My daughter took me to it once. It was a lot of fun. So
they
got the one show left.
They had some CBD stuff, but not a lot in the way of head shop stuff. And they had comics. Yeah. Just one comic, but still they had...
or DC.
They had DC's Death Metal miniseries.
Yeah, which even people that are non-comic people knew about, which is really too bad because it was largely incomprehensible to me.
My son loves the Batman Who Laughs. And he said, I'm going to get like an omnibus of all the stories. I said, well, they haven't put one out yet. I know that they eventually will. But he was like, well, what trade paperbacks do I have to get? And I had to pull it out. And it's like, and he looked at it. It's like, no.
Yeah, it's a long, convoluted story. I still
and it
don't
meanders
know why.
From book to book to book.
I still have no idea why Daniel showed up from Sandman, but...
Well, it's like I read, what was the Marvel book that had been sitting on the shelf for over a year? Darkhold. You know what the big thing was? Well, they changed Scarlet Witch's powers again.
Again?
So now she's completely a good guy. Except, she got killed in the X-Men.
Yeah.
Which, I'm reading it and going, isn't she dead? But they brought back Omega the Unknown. And it's like, okay. That came out of nowhere, but okay.
I'm like, really? You couldn't just let it rest with Gerber? But I suppose that's why it's so baffling to me that nobody is working to try to get the Ultraverse up and running. You want a good invasion angle. You set it up years ago in Avengers, Ultra Force, Avenger crossover. And if you got problems with the rights, like, what's the deal with Prime? What, not Len, but his partner, wasn't that the one guy who's in jail?
However, the guy who put the deal together said there is no problem with the rights. Marvel just doesn't want to use them. Which, Marvel says, there are rights issues. And Len says, yeah, the right issues is they have to pay us. And the guy who put the deal together, I actually chatted with him on Facebook about a year ago. We talked about it when we went down to Mankato. He said, no, there's no royalty thing. There's no rights issue. It's just they just don't want to use them.
That to me, okay, again, maybe it's just because I look at it favorably. Stupid. The fact that Marvel DC don't do team-ups, stupid. The fact that there are books out of print that I can't get, stupid. It's like money on the table. It's like, really, are you guys making that much money, or are the corporate overlords on your head to like, no, just more Batman?
I think the fact that Avengers JLA by Perez isn't available is a crime.
Or the fact that there's a number of things. Like, they could have done the rights to make a ROM omnibus for Bill Manuel, but nope. Or they could have done, again, the JLA Avenger, especially the way things are going. And then, of course, I don't know when this will air as opposed to the other podcasts, but now Peter David's got kidney failure, and he's grappling with that. Speaking of freaking.
And there's Marvel versus DC that he worked on.
Yeah, you could bring that back. But, hell, we'll do an omnibus of it. It doesn't hold up well, but do all the crossovers, get all the amalgam in there. The fact they never used amalgam again, I always thought that, what did they call them? Dr.
Strange Fate.
I was going to say Strange Love. But, that to me, utterly fascinating character. But you got to find the right writer to write him to make it, because he was kind of a son of a bitch. It's a real tricky aspect to make somebody that bad, yet sympathetic enough for me wanting to read month after month. I can't think, maybe you might know. Is there anybody you can think of that hit that, where the character is just bad, but you just want to watch him?
Oh, Hitman. Pretty much any character that Garth Ennis writes.
Yeah, perfect example.
Most of the Warren Ellis stuff, his characters are usually assholes. Mark Miller.
Mm-hmm. So it can be done.
Although, I wonder if that time is coming past.
It's possible.
Because it's like Lobo. Lobo was a character huge. He was a jerk. And they've tried a couple of times to bring him back, and just nobody cared.
Yeah, no, I just finished reading the Griffin I can't think of the artist. Anyways, 2 volumes, just crazy crap. Stuff I didn't remember, stuff I never read. It's bad when hell and heaven basically put a do not touch notice on this guy. But yeah, that was fun. So it may be, but then again, you get TV shows like Sopranos, Breaking Bad, that people think of fondly. So again, maybe comic. It could be 2 things. It could be the fact that the corporate wanks don't want any controversy, hence the closing of the Black Label. Or
although they never closed it.
Okay, yeah, that they just kind of no worries, don't worry about it, guys.
We won't. Batman's going to keep his pants on.
Yeah, he'll keep his pants on. Superman, on the other hand, Larry Niven was right. No,
I think there's a time and a place for certain characters, and after their time is over, they either need to be reinvented or just, they're done.
You almost said the dreaded R word.
Reboot? Anytime a book goes away, you have to do something different with it to bring it back, because there's a reason it went away.
Yeah, people forget that. I also wonder if, at least for the big guys, Marvel, DC.
We got a crash.
Oh, that explains it. That explains why everything's so going
That
up.
doesn't look good.
They don't have a front grille no more. What the hell did they hit? I don't see another car.
Oh, that doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah.
I think we know where the other car might be. Nope.
That way?
Well, there's cops.
There's
a car.
Yeah, maybe it was a hit and run. Oh well. That's why I drive slow and I don't drive the freeway when it's bitchy out. When it's bitchy out! I know my limits! Get out of my way! Oh, sorry.
Joe doing his Paul Lynde.
Seriously.
There you go, Holiday Station with no gas.
That's a dated reference.
Oh wait,
It's
no,
on
the
other
gas
side.
is on the other side, okay.
Gas is on the other side.
I wonder if you could do a character like Lobo again. And the other thing was, he was very, very tied to Keith Giffen and Alan Grant.
Grant, that's who I was thinking of, yeah.
And most of the people who tried after that, it just didn't work, because there's something about the Brits. The Brits can do characters who are jerks. Judge Dredd, he's a fascist. And it's been going for 40 years.
I wonder if a lot of that's because we talked about the guys writing comics now grew up reading comics.
Yep.
And they want to write the comics the way they want to, whereas the Brits, I don't think, had that type of history behind them.
They did, but it's not as prevalent as I'm a fan who wants to write. If you deal with people online, whenever somebody who's not from fandom gets a book, they lose their minds. And most of the people who wrote comics until the 70s, they weren't comic fans because they weren't comic fans. It's okay, it's a job. Then in the 70s, the fans started coming in, and that's when comics got a little more kind of, I don't want to say inbred, but more convoluted, more inward looking. And that, to the point now where there are some fans who, well, if you're not a comic fan, you shouldn't write it because you're not going to know the continuity and blah, blah, blah. The editor can tell you the continuity.
Yeah, and it's really light. Like
And continuity's a gatekeeping thing.
And like I said, Garth Ennis came in and said, worked with Angels once, didn't like it, told him where to put it. Yeah, that's your continuity. Punisher died, came an Angel, didn't like it. Again, it's lightweight for guys like me who are dumb enough to read the Angel Punisher series.
Hey, it was drawn by Bernie Wrightson, so we thought it might be okay.
Yeah. And,
we were wrong. It was awful.
Yeah. And again, it maybe could have been different. Who knows?
Punisher's another character they seem to have trouble doing a revamp on.
I wonder if maybe they're just better off, kind of like what they're doing now. You know, hey, oh, you got to take on Punisher? They approve it? Okay. Do 12 issues, 20, whatever you need. We'll can it. Wait for the next one.
Yeah.
Because believe me, when I get a Punisher book and I'm trying to look it up, oh my God, there's like 8 frickin' volumes to look through, not to mention miniseries and stuff. And they don't, inside the little tiny print that I got to use my readers to find, or a really powerful magnifying glass, you know, like at the U, you know, they got those super micron.
Yeah.
You know, Punisher, 1988. Wait a minute.
It's the Mississippi River.
You're not giving me any volume here. They don't even do volumes anymore.
The other thing is that all the characters that the Punisher was kind of based on, because he was based on those men's adventure novel characters from the 70s. They're all gone. Even Mac Bolan, the Executioner,
I don't know if I'm in the right lane.
which had over 400 books,
Oh, I am in the right lane.
they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody's really crying to have them come back.
And they were published by a company called Gold Eagle, which was a subsidiary of Harlequin.
Did your thing talk to us?
I don't know.
I thought I heard squeak, squeak.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, still
Yeah, we're still recording. But they sold all. Harlequin got bought up. And they said, well, do you want Gold Eagle? And they're like, no. So the Executioner books, which at one point they were putting out 3 a month, that whole line is gone. And the widow of the creator was shopping it around before she passed. And nobody was interested. They were like, we sell, you know, this many books and etc. And they're like, that market's dead. We can't get them into the type of stores they would sell at, because they sold at like Walmart and Kmart and truck stands and stuff. And Walmart has gone pretty much either bestsellers or religious books. Kmart's gone. You know, you go to a truck stop, they don't sell books.
all those comments. Oh, you're in Walmart. Are you? I don't think that's a selling point anymore.
Yeah, there was that one by Mitch Breitweiser who'd gotten into Walmart. And he only put out like
maybe 1 or 2 issues.
Yeah, he only put out 2 issues of each book and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Which is, you know.
Well, Walmart 100 pagers ended. I thought those were selling well.
The first batch were selling really well. Then the second batch, when they had them in shops as well, weren't. And what people at DC said is, well, what we think happened is all these comic shop owners would come in and buy them from Walmart to sell them in their shop. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah, they still have packs of comics, and oftentimes the comics are, you know, stuff that's obviously been sitting around, but they're giving Walmart exclusive comic covers, or at least they had been. So, you know, for $9-10, you're getting a, 5-6 comics with an exclusive cover.
I love those Walmart 100-pagers.
Not that they're collectible, because, you know, oh, look, the Captain Marvel Walmart one went up. Oh, yeah, well, guess what? There's a lot of them out there. They suddenly surface.
But then I like that type of package.
I was less.
Here's a great big comic.
Yeah.
You know, reprints 3 or 4 other books in it, and
I was less thrilled because it was continued.
Yeah.
To me, it was shades of growing up. Oh, I don't know if I'll ever find number 3 without going to Walmart over and over and over.
That was the thing. I actually found out, okay, this is the week where they stock them. So I would go to Walmart that Sunday after getting off one of my overnight shifts. And it's like, okay, yep, they got all 4 of them. Boom, boom, boom. Is there anything else I need? And I'd go back to the DVDs and see what crappy, cheap DVDs they had. That's where I got that Godzilla set.
I remember. Mispriced, if I recall.
Yes. And it was all the Godzillas from after Godzilla 1985 till when they ended the second run in Japan, which was, I think, Godzilla Final War.
Yes. The disc my daughter played till it broke.
So now the only Godzilla movie from Japan I do not have is Godzilla 1985 because that one's out of print. And I'm not paying stupid prices for it. Because I got the Criterion of all the stuff before Godzilla 1985.
Including Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster?
Yes.
With disco, the scariest monster I could think of. With disco! Japanese disco in it.
The thing is, people are like, oh, how did you buy that box set? It was like $100 and something. It's like, okay, if you subscribe to Criterion every year, they give you either $10 or $20 to spend in the store. Then you wait till the half price sale. Never buy anything from Criterion unless it's their half price sale, because they have like 1 or 2 half price sales during the year. Then in November through December, Barnes & Noble has a Criterion half price sale.
Yeah, that's where I got my Hard Day's Night Criterion set.
That's where I got the Breakfast Club Criterion.
I would buy that. There's no Crazy Comics Criterion yet.
I would really like to see. They did plans over and over, and they always fell through to do a sequel.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
And I would love to see that sequel. Where did everybody end up?
Ooh, Sleep.
Sweet.
I forget the name of the comic shop that used to be in this building. Stand Up Comics.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and they got flooded out. The water system broke in their old building, and they like wiped them out. Because they were the guys that had the old network where, oh, this toy hit. So they would marshal their forces and hit every Target, Toys R Us, whatever, because they were quadrant off, and they'd grab all the toys, bring them back. Because oftentimes we'd run into them as well, and they're like, oh, these guys are here. What are you after this time? Some of them were cool. They knew we were from Hot Comics, but... And I remember going to their store once, and the closest I could think of in my memory is like it was like Steve's place, but not as coordinated. And I was like not in a digging mood, so I took off. I was fussy. Who knew? And then the next thing I know, they had the washout that wiped them out. Which is too bad, because I never would have loved to see what they got.
There's a record store.
I know.
The Barley Brothers.
Records. Doesn't look like it's open. Whee!
We're in the bowels of St. Paul, I believe.
I don't know what they call this area. Industrial. In between 280 and Snelling there. This is probably one of them. So this is in the back area where they used to have all the old warehouses nobody wanted, and now they're turning into restaurants and lofts, and the rent and the taxes are going up and driving the long-term businesses out.
Oh, that's always good.
Including a few industrial places that still are here.
It's the way of the world, though.
Yeah. A music teacher went to New York in the 80s, back when going to New York might have been a death sentence. And she says eventually everything gentrified and cleared out. Hell's Kitchen is not the way it is in Daredevil Comics. It's actually a pleasant neighborhood. Harlem might be a little dicey, according to some friends, if you're not white, but, generally mind your own business, you'll be fine. Central Park used to be, oh, don't go there after dark. Well, now you can. Maybe not now, but hard to say what's going on now.
Well, didn't one of the anchors on WCCO recently say that downtown Minneapolis is a hellhole?
I could be. I don't listen to a lot of locals. The only time I jump on is when I want to know what's going on in the weather, and if I hear, oh, KSTP was wandering around the airport again. Let's see what bad thing they had to say about TSA.
It's funny, when I lived in Illinois, 6 o'clock news, we all had to watch it, and you chose which one you were with.
Yeah.
And you stayed with it no matter what. And the anchors were there forever, because it's Peoria, it's not like you could go down much further, and they're not going to be picking up people from Peoria.
It's still pretty true now. I mean, you go and you look, and every so often they'll show, like, okay, here's such and such from, like, 18 years ago, and they look like they're teenagers.
Yeah.
As opposed to, we grew up with them. Ooh, trains!
But when I moved here, I never got in the habit of watching the local news.
These tracks used to go by my house.
And then when I started watching, it's like every story here is trying to scare you into staying home. And every ad is about furniture, security, or, home stuff. And it kind of dawned on me, they want you to stay home, buy stuff, and watch TV. Oh, that's their job.
Friends that, moved out of town, and they're like, oh my God, I don't know how you live there. So what are you talking about? You grew up there. And the problem is the only reason why you're sitting here thinking St. Paul, Minneapolis is a hellhole is because you got the news guys based there. And, oh my God, there was a litter bug, cops are on them. Boom, we got camera crew right there. Whereas they could have a triple homicide down in one of these suburb towns, and it takes some hours to get there. Well, by the time they get there, would you reset up the yellow tape and flashing lights so we can have a visual? As opposed to, well, yeah, this happened, but we don't have pictures of it, but this happened right in your neighborhood, be panicky. And even then, there's shit that, it was like a gun battle, like 4 or 5 blocks from my house. I wonder about it. Oh, never made the news. Why? They didn't get a news crew there in time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm very selective. Not that I ignore them, but I'm very selective about what local news chooses to cover. Plus, everything's okay by the end. Here's our feel-good piece. Look, Fluffy. He can float on a surfboard in Lake Nakoma in the wintertime. Yay! Yeah, I think ever since City Pages and Twin City Reader went under, there's nobody really attacking the powers that be, giving them a hard time.
Well, it's a problem and I'm going to bring it back to comics. It's a problem with any sort of journalism that covers something specifically. Comic journalism is never going to dig into any bad practices by any of the companies, because if you do, they will cut off access.
Yep.
Action Lab right now is being sued by 40 people who had contracts with them because they just quit paying people. I haven't seen anything about it on any of the major comic pages. I'm seeing it from the artists involved. I'm seeing it on Reddit and places where people talk about comics. But on, the main comic websites, silence. Why? Hey, there's a new Baby Yoda figure.
Or even, you got Rich Johnson who excels in gossip.
But even he has cut way back on his gossip.
Yeah.
Because he wants to get those press releases. He wants to get those exclusives. He wants to get those deals. And it's like that for everything. One of the things, not to get super political, but Trump was always covered by the business press. And the business press never says anything bad about anybody until they go to jail. So when he got into, and he was rough on them, if anything remotely semi-negative was said. So he leaves, it goes to the mainstream press, and he is not ready for it. And then he realized, if I'm a Republican and I'm fighting the press, my base will like that because they hate any sort of structure. But he was, the first few months, he was baffled. And the books I've read, he was like, why are they attacking me? That's not what they do. I'll sue the shit out of them. And they're like, you can't do that. Well, I did it when, Forbes tried to drop me out of the 400 richest people. They're like, You don't understand. It's very different. The business press never says anything bad about anybody because they don't want to lose access. Now, access in DC is a little weirder in that everybody kind of has their people. And once you learn that, it's like, oh, this person's going to leak to this person about this. But they're not going to leak to them about the stuff in their own party. And wrestling's the same way.
Yeah, if you're negative to somebody, you lose access.
But also, people will contact a wrestling journalist and go, hey, did you hear the blah, 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 blah? Yeah, the big story from Royal Rumble was that Shane McMahon was sent home. He won't be a part of WrestleMania. And there were stories floating around that he was a jerk backstage and he wanted all the attention on himself, blah, 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 blah.
Which is weird from what we know of Shane.
Which made me start to think, well, who wants him gone? Who would be the one going to these reporters and saying, by the way, the word backstage is thus and such and thus and such and thus and such? Because that's how it works. One of the things that PW Insider does, Mike gets stories like that all the time, but he has to have, another source, because that's how, Hogan was brilliant at that, where he would, start floating the story, hey, Roddy Piper's won't do the job for anybody. Roddy Piper won't do the job. And then Piper, when he found out about it, confronted Hogan and said, yeah, I'll do the job to anybody but you. And that's why Piper never got pinned by Hogan. He was like, yeah, I'll do the job for anyone, not you. You could go to hell.
I heard those guys on Crazy Comic Podcast are jerks.
Yeah, well, that's a story that's floating out there, but we know it's not true.
Yeah. You can always tell all of a sudden, hey, look, someone we interviewed. We're no longer friends with them.